Hey guys, it's Mathel here once again, and the next project I've undertaken after that huge starter of a character was a revamp of a character I've played before, and that is Icespear Totems. And as you can see, shit's going down. So the main reason for the big spread of attack that you just then saw there is that Sniper's Mark works in a sort of different way than it used to. It's been changed a while ago, but this is basically how it works now. It splits off a lot of different projectiles if you have Sniper's Mark on the enemy. So currently, Icespear Totems, as you can see, fires off plenty of projectiles. I do have chains because I'm a Deadeye, and then if you put a Sniper's Mark on the enemy, it becomes this like pincushion turret thing that just shits out spells everywhere. The basis of the build is to do Ice Spear. It is to stack lots of projectiles. So each of my current Ice Spear totems has, I think, 9 Ice Spears going off, and there's 6 totems, and they cast pretty damn quick, and we do have Ricochet and Chain thanks to Deadeye. The entire cornerstone of the build was to pick up Deadeye for that kind of action, and I'm not sure it's all that worth doing, the chain ricochet stuff, because I've only got 2 chains and it doesn't really ricochet that often, and it doesn't really matter, but it is fun extra memes. But otherwise we're just stacking lots of projectiles, and then getting cast speed, crit, and we're using a snake pit ring so that Ice Spear cannot pierce at any point, so that it is always going to be chaining. Now you can see an example of the whole pincushion thing against these pain totems. So they're the ones that don't die on certain rituals, and you can actually get to see the Sniper's Mark effect in action. If we have something to Sniper's Mark like that during clear, it completely destroys the screen, because they just keep, the totems will keep pummeling into that target and chain and spread to everything, and it feels really freaking good. So the build itself, pretty damn weird and squishy, and I didn't expect this to kind of go anywhere, because it either doesn't have enough damage for the life that it has, or it just ends up being a pretty wonky playstyle, given that I can't squeeze more than like 4,000 life out of this passive tree. Since I'm a Deadeye, I've got to do a lot of traveling. I've picked up a decent amount of life nodes, but it's still a lot of traveling, and the gear itself is going to be a bit thin on life. But that doesn't really matter. Didn't actually have a death on the character until about level 85, and that was not a good one. It was not worth reporting back as a death, to be honest, and it is still a pretty defensive playstyle. This is essentially the epitome of Mathel build, where you don't have that much life, but you do have a very fast playstyle of a character, and you can dodge and outplay mechanics. And up till now, I'm level 92, haven't died many times, have done plenty of thick content, but it can be a defensive playstyle thanks to the way you place totems, the way you can dodge, the freeze from the ice spears, and the huge DPS that you're going to be putting out. So far, nothing I've attacked has lasted longer than a second, and this is just an example more of a pincushion sort of thing on one of the bosses, Silo boss. Tier 14, I believe, and it's also been a really good clearer of Betrayal, but it's probably the best Metamorph character I've ever had. Early tier Metamorphs just instantly evaporate. These are the high tier Metamorphs, and the Ice Spears chain off of a regular Metamorph, or the actual Metamorph itself, and destroy all of the spawns instantly, and then also kill the Metamorph in about a second. I don't think I've ever had such clean Metamorph kills, and it's been extremely satisfying to do. So, as I said, the build kinda wonky, and I'm not sure it's worth copying for a lot of people. If you like the look of what you see, if you think, you know, you're happy to learn how to dodge stuff and have a pretty active playstyle, a pretty fast playstyle, and you're not going to be too frustrated at dying to shit, then yeah, it might be worth doing. But I do not want anyone copying this and going, Mathel, I don't get it, where are my defenses, why am I dying? You don't fucking have any defenses. You press your totems, and then it's up to you to play the game beyond that. So, It's definitely not one for the faint of heart, and I wasn't making this build with any intention of people copying it. I was making it because, hey, I really like the look of this totem thing. I want to give it a shot with the Icespear Deadeye interaction at the moment. That was the only real single target I've done so far for a test, both the Phoenix and the Valentia, and it's been pretty good. I should have about 10 million DPS with all my totems up and doing the right things. Yeah, we'll figure out what DPS and what the end game look like in today's stream. Maybe I can actually pull off end game damage and end game playstyle for all of the Maven and 4-ways, 5-ways and stuff, but it's gonna be rough. It's a very kill or be killed type of situation, but absolutely loving the mechanics of the build so far, and as you can see, the favorite enemies to fight are the ones that linger for just an extra few seconds, even after they're dead, so that we can exhibit our Icespear Totem madness. So with all that said, I will still go ahead and go over the character, just in case you want to see how it's built or want to give it a shot yourself. So here is our character, level 92 Deadeye, called Bitrate Wife Check. Wife Check is a emote in chat, Dr. Disrespect, looking around basically. And bitrate is the fact that a build like this shits out so many projectiles and clutters the screen means that bitrate for recording and for streaming is completely destroyed. So it's not a very good, very stream-friendly build. In any case, you can see we have a huge 4.7k life. I can actually bring that up to about 5,000 and about 1,000 energy shield if I have all the gear I wanted. I'm basically still just down on one of the items I'm trying to craft. But up to level 92, look, it's been pretty smooth. It is fine with my playstyle, doing the low tier maps, and it's just basically, you know, press totems and then run around. And you can play that as defensively as you like and slow as you like, but I'm going pretty fast because the character feels like it wants to go fast, and as such, you might get yourself into some sticky situations. So like I said, if you're gonna do any of this, this isn't me challenging you or some shit and saying, can you survive? I'm literally telling you, it's gonna be a bad time if you don't like this type of a playstyle and you need some thickness in your character. Otherwise, hey, fun times ahead, totems, pretty cool stuff. So we're based around Icespear. As you can see, a lot of extra crit and crit multi on the second form of the Icespear. Second form takes a little bit to travel, like let's say from here to there, and then it turns into the second form. So you don't have to scale too much crit in the build, because ideally you are placing your totems far enough away from a boss that they're going to be in second form and always critting. We are using a soul mantle, so you attach basically spell totem to your Icespear. We then have multi-totem support, so you can place 2 totems at once. And then the other supports are control destruction, awakened cold penetration, still only level 1, so it's basically a level 20 cold pen. Added cold, trying to get this to level 5. Until it's level 5, it doesn't really matter as a DPS support, it's kind of whatever. But once it hits level 5, it gets +1 level of cold gems, I think, and then hypothermia over here. So the base 6 link, just without the soul mantle, also incorporates spell totem, and then you'd get rid of awakened added cold. I am using soul mantle this time around because I wanted that +1 totem, and on top of that, I wanted to see the whole hex effect, you know, the random hex on you. How I can do it with just flasks. Conventionally, you wear like a couple of rings, Kikazaru rings, and then you don't care about the curses and you wear like a self-flagellation. Likewise with a series reflection, or you can do the new helm from Maven, but then you can't wear a snake pit. Currently, like I said, I'm trying this out, so if you spam totems, as you can see here, for example, spam totems, you'll keep getting cursed when the totems run out. So, or when you create new totems, thus they run out. So we are dealing with that by using a curse mana flask. So as a mana flask, you have lots of charges, and it is an enduring one, so it does go over the top of your mana, and I'm using reduced flask charge over here. You can hit it pretty freaking often. You can hit a lot of them. So you might think you run out during a boss fight. There hasn't been a boss fight I've done so far that lasts longer than a second. And in the really long tier ones, like maybe an Uber fight or a Maven, maybe it might run into some problems. So far, not even close. It's been very comfortable. So just pure mana flask with the immune to curses thing, I think completely viable to negate a soul mantle, and it's pretty comfortable. You can build into even more like reduced flask charge, for example. You can grab arcane chemistry instead of totemic zeal for your anoint. You could even spec into some mana shit. Honestly, you should be able to sustain a mana flask for curse effect removal with a soul mantle pretty fucking comfortably. At least I think so anyway. The only other special piece of gear in the character is Snake Pit, and we wear that just for additional chain, and so that spells cannot pierce. Because in the second phase of Icespear, it always pierces, and thus you won't be doing any chaining. We wear this so that we can get another chain, and then so that it doesn't pierce, so that the chains work. Because we are built around Deadeye Ascendancy with additional chain. Snake Pit, in general, doesn't have to be Deadeye for the chain. Snake Pit and just chaining on your totems feels way better than Pierce, because with the Pierce, you place your totems, they're all going to fire in a certain direction, and they'll just kill stuff in sort of a line or a cone. And it means you might have to place many totems, means that you have to cast several times to hit things on screens, or you have to position them exactly the way you want. Whereas with chain, you'll put it down and they'll possibly like hit here and then just go behind themselves to hit the next stuff. Chain feels a lot better in Icespear Totems than Pierce does, at least in my experience from playing it a couple of times. So we've got a Snake Pit. Got a soul mantle, using the chain, using 2 additional proj. We do have focal point so that our sniper's mark gets even more powerful. So you can see that sniper's mark has 40% increased damage from projectile hits for enemies, and then it's buffed by 75%. Sorry, over here. So that means that the enemies should take 70% increased damage from projectile hits, which is essentially a more multiplier. It will also scale the additional split, so another 3 splits, so it splits 7 times each projectile, and that's when things get pretty crazy. We do have to self-cast this mark. I think it's been changed so it's not strictly like locked onto a single target. You can do it in a slightly general area, and then it will still target a certain enemy, the main enemy within that area. But we've got a really fast cast speed for that anyway, so it feels pretty good. Basically, I'm running around, throwing down the mark on anything that looks like it'll take a hit, and hopefully that helps spread onto enemies. And then we've got Gale Force over here from Gathering Winds. It makes you place your totems faster, makes you overall quite a bit faster. It's not supposed to, I don't think, give totems the attack speed or the cast speed, but it feels like it might. I don't know. I'm pretty sure mechanically it's not supposed to, so take that for what it's worth. But it is still worth taking for just, additional speed. And that's why we have a Spell Slinger on the left click over here. So Spell Slinger attached to nothing. When you move, it's just going to try and turn it on and off continuously. And as you can see, just by playing the game normally, just running around, we maintain 6 stacks of Gale Force at all times. So maintaining 10 stacks is pretty damn easy at all times, just for movement and all that, because you do place your totems pretty frequently, you do move around, you dash and all that. And if you want, you can just sit here and spam mark and get 10 stacks pretty quick as well. So that's something you can do during boss fights. So it's pretty good stuff. Besides that, like I said, that's the only real special pieces of gear. Other than that, we're going like, cast speed, a bit of crit multi on an amulet. We do have an additional Icespear projectile helm enchant. You want a wand that has like some cast speed plus cold, hopefully. Crit on there, I just managed to roll through harvest, doesn't really matter. But mostly going for cast speed, additional gem. Spare suffix would be really cool for the focus double damage. Likewise with the shield, we just want +1 totems. Any other cool stuff there is really good. But a spare suffix would be really nice. +1 to gems would be really nice. It is possible to craft this shit with harvest. I made a couple of shields that weren't to my use already. I'm not sure if I have any left over at the moment. Yep, there's one there. So +1 lightning spell skill, and then +1 totem. I made a +1 fizz, and then +1 totem. So harvest does make these shields a lot easier to make. And then you can also kind of like guarantee it if it's below level 75 as a shaper, since it won't have any other prefixes to do a remove cold, add cold, but it is going to be a bit of a gamble. Won't really go too deep into that. Basically just spam like, you know, increased cold modifier, frigid fossils, shit like that. Maybe you come across the right one, but for the most part, you just want +1 totem. So if I can get life on this shield as well, or life on a shield with +1 totem, then I should have about 5k life. Otherwise, you know, harvest crafted boots, some good life resists, temple modifier for the 50% increased cold damage, life resist flask charge, just a whole bunch of life with cast speed, and I think that's it for the gear, right? So it's pretty simple stuff, but it is somewhat specific for lives and resists and the kind of uniques you need. The gems over here, Flame Dash, Second Wind, Arcane Surge, and Sniper's Mark. So you're always keeping up, you know, Arcane Surge pretty proficiently. That's the name. You got Frostbomb, Second Wind, Arcane Surge, and Duration. So once again, we're Frostbombing just about any time I want extra damage against an enemy. So it's pretty often against like bigger tier enemies. Stone Golem, Fortify, Shield Charge, and faster attacks. I honestly don't Shield Charge around that often. I ideally would because it keeps up Fortify, but just the Flame Dash playstyle seems a lot faster and cleaner. Over here, we then have Righteous Fire, and I'm also using currently just Hatred and just leveling a Volley. I do leave a lot of mana on reserve because each totem at this point costs 200 mana, and you know, you can drop down 3 of those. The Mana Flask helps top us up, so basically at all times do have to have the Mana Flask going. That's the only way I can sustain these totems. Dying Sun, pretty damn good for 2 additional projectiles, is a bit expensive, but I got it from a Shaper drop, and then that's about it, I think. As far as the passive tree is concerned, we have a Rain of Splinters for 2 additional projectiles. We have just some crit multi, cast speed, crit multi, cast speed. 1 cluster over here that is pretty basic, just has Ancestral Echo, cast speed, placement speed, and Onslaught with totem duration, and then just a life one branching off of that. Made this myself with, I don't know, Alt Regals maybe. It wasn't very hard to make, but you don't really need both of these. I mostly just wanted the Onslaught, so get whatever else you can over here, and then you just branch out and grab this. It's a pretty long passive tree. Leveling sucks ass until about level 30 maybe, at which time the totems come online and feels pretty damn good. But up until that point, it is a struggle, and we do take that for our first Ascendancy, then into that. And I don't know. It's pretty damn fun, but I can't really recommend anyone else copy it. It's just, you know, user beware. More of a showcase of a pile of memes and how well they can work sometimes. So hopefully the end game content goes down really nicely in the by the next video, but it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a big old dodge fiesta. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.